Hello everyone, this is Potato Knight here. I hope you are keeping very well. Yes, I am well aware that Knight has only been out for a day, but I've been doing a lot of experimenting with this killer, and it might just be that I need a bit more practice, but based on the killer's actual kit, I have determined that this killer is actually very weak, and honestly, I would mark this killer as a D tier killer, C tier at best, and let me explain why. So let's talk about the killer's power. Basically, the killer has the ability to summon free knights on a patrol path. If the knight that's summoned finds a survivor, it will go into a mode called the hunt. But before it can start chasing the survivor, it has to place down a flag, and it will place down a flag based on the position where it found that survivor. So that takes a little bit of time, and then it starts chasing for a short period of time. Been doing some experiments with the actual chase mechanic. The AI is very buggy, and I've noticed that at some pallets the AI is able to walk through and some pallets it's not. So I don't actually know what it's actually supposed to do. I'm just assuming this is a PTB bug. If the Ghost Knights can actually walk through pallets, then it would probably be a C tier killer, but if they can't, then I'm probably going to be very confident of leaving this at a D tier. So I don't know yet, but that is the Knight's AI behavior. The survivor can actually interact with the banner, and it's very easy to do, especially if you are on a circle tile. So if the Knight does summon one against you, and you can just loop around in a big circle around an object, and you can easily grab the banner, and then you get a juicy sprint burst alongside with an endurance hit as well. So that is extremely useful but very bad for the Knight. If the Knight hits you while you're being chased by one of its summons, it actually ends the hunt completely. So the killer can't continue to pressure you with the Knight. It has to then resummon another one, which is very tricky to do because the survivors can actually see the pathing, and it's very easy to avoid. You'll see in these clips here where even though the orb was placed on me, I still had plenty of time to get out of the way of the summon. Another thing you might be thinking is this killer is insanely good at camping. You are wrong. This killer cannot camp at all with the Knights. Even if the Knight does aggro you by a hook, you have plenty of time to unhook a survivor right in front of that summoned Knight, and if you unhook, it will stop the hunt. So the camping Knight basically does nothing other than alert the killer, but you unhooking alerts the killer anyway, so honestly, it's not good at all. Another issue I found with the Knight is there's 3 cool abilities per Knight. So one of them has the ability to break things faster. The next Knight is just faster in the hunt. And the last Knight has a longer patrol time. The Knight can't actually manually swap between these 3. So you're forced to constantly go through the others. So if you wanted to kick gens a lot, the first Knight would be the best. But unfortunately, you have to go through Knight 2 and 3 to get back to Knight number 1. Which is really bad. If you had the ability to pick which Knight you could use, you could really pressure in certain situations. Or, for example, it had a big cooldown, so if you wanted to summon the Assassin, you had to wait 30 seconds before you could summon it again, but you could still use the other 2. So it needs something in terms of being able to pick the Knights. That would be really good. You're also unable to cancel your patrol. So if you do start a patrol path and you need to cancel for whatever reason, you still have to summon the Knight regardless, and that's a big cooldown that you've just wasted. So you have to be very careful with your power, making the killer, again, really weak. So what does this killer really have, and what is the counterplay to this killer if you're playing Survivor? This killer is very good at zoning survivors, so it can force a survivor to run it in a certain direction, which could be beneficial to you. The issue with this is the time it takes for you to actually summon a path to block a survivor. They can see it perfectly and they're going to react and run so far away by the time you've managed to zone them out. It only really works if you've got them boxed in a corner where you can just use your power and then, push them around with the Knight chasing them. It's very situational, and the time you've honestly summoned the Knight, the survivor is going to hold down W to the next tile if there's one nearby, and a lot of maps have tons of tiles really close together. So it's very hard to use this killer. People are comparing this killer to the artist, as the artist has to set up her ability in a tile, and then it forces the survivor to have to leave it. That's basically what the killer is in a nutshell, but a much weaker equivalent. It's very, very easy to avoid this killer's knights. Even if you do get chased by a knight, if you time it just right and you position yourself correctly, you can grab that banner and get a sprint burst and run away. So it's a very double-edged sword to actually summon a knight with this killer. Kicking gens is another thing this knight can do and break walls, but again, only the first knight is really fast at doing these actions. And even if the knight did kick a gen off in the distance and there was a survivor there, the knight disappears once it kicks the gen, so the survivors can just retouch the gen again anyway. So not that great as a mechanic as well. All it's good for is just rotating between knights and just kicking gens that nobody's on. But bear in mind, as I said, survivors can just touch the gen anyway, and it's normal regression speed, and these knights do not work with any of your perks. So it doesn't proc Surge, doesn't proc Call of Brain, doesn't proc anything. So what would I do to honestly buff this killer? I would first remove the survivor's ability to see the patrol path. Maybe the orb where it's gonna be summoned, so it's not a complete stealth surprise that they're just summoned out of nowhere, but not the patrol path, because then survivors can easily avoid it. At least if they didn't know where the patrol path was going, you could have some great mind games. The fact that they can see all of it is really, really bad. I would like to see the knights also continue to patrol once they do a break action. So you could click on break a door, for example, and the knight can continue to go forward and patrol a little bit longer. But if you do an action, it massively reduces the remaining patrol time. So for example, you could have the knight kick a gen and then patrol and chase a survivor. That would be huge. They need to completely remove the whole endurance flag speed effect. I think the flag mechanic, removing it is fine, gives the survivors a chance to get rid of the knight, and requires a bit of skill from the knight themselves for good placement. But the fact that survivors get a sprint burst and an endurance effect is too much. That's way too rewarding for just grabbing and stopping it. It just makes the power completely useless, and if timed correctly and in a team of survivors, you could easily stop the knight using their power altogether. Chase one survivor with the knight, another teammate walks by, gets rid of the flag. So yeah, it's not that great. And I think if they made it so the knight had the ability to switch as well, that would be really, really cool. Another change I would like to add is when the killer uses their power, they actually cannot see survivors at all when they're doing a patrol. It's exactly like Spirit. It would be kind of good if they could also see where the survivors were, so they could plan their patrols a lot easier. But if they didn't add that, then they definitely need to add the previous things that I said. Of course, I'm going to end this video off with some gameplay against a good group of survivors. I queued against a very good group of survivors, and I really struggled to use the power. And as I said, it could just be me being really bad with this killer. But judging on the killer's power and the kit, I just think that they're really, really weak. And honestly, just holding down W and going to the next tile is the easiest counterplay ever. And if the knight leaves you on your own with one of these AI knights, they're so easy to avoid. You just have to loop around in a circle and grab the banner. It's really not difficult to avoid these knights. It could be very difficult to get away when the knight themselves are chasing you with the AI. But if the knight leaves you on your own for whatever reason, they're easy to get rid of. So yeah, I'd like to see some buffs for this killer, as I've already mentioned. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this killer. In the poll, a lot of you voted that the killer is actually A tier, and I just don't see it myself. Maybe with a few changes, this killer can potentially be A tier, but right now this killer is very, very easy to counter. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Peace out.
You say spread pressure, but the time I do... Okay, if I'm in chase, or I use him to kick a gen, the survivors will just touch the gen the second the night's done and run away. So it makes no odds me using my power to kick a gen. There's so many issues with this killer. If the killer kicked the gen and then started a chase, perfect. It's just the fact that the killer kicks a gen, you run over, they touch the gen, and then you got to kick it again anyway. So it's just like... Breaking the pallet is fine. This killer just has okay anti-loop. I can literally force a pallet. I can break a pallet. I can literally win every pallet, basically. There isn't a pallet I can't win. I could just force a break and then crack on. But he's fun to play so far. Maybe I'm just bad with him. All I did was summon it for a split second and I've lost him. I was hoping he'd just use the TNL, but no. Nice. See, that's a good example of it actually being good. And no, it doesn't proc jolt. So a single pellet gem like that, yes, it works. Just force him back this way. No, the buggy doesn't proc any of your perks. AI got stuck, and then she immediately got rid of the banner anyway. I can't hear her because of the ghost noise. That's great. What the fuck? It. Oh, because he got the flag, he got a speed boost. Okay, they need to remove that completely, that's stupid. I guess I can stop gens a little bit. Bruh. The killer's just very good at camping. I'll give it that. See, he just leaves at all, so I can't even use my power. Easy. Hey, take care. Welcome in.
Tell me, why did you follow PotatoLegion?
Completely missed him. Ah, I just wish you could do it at Windows easier. He managed to get the flag. Why can't I pick this guy up? What the fuck? Okay. What the hell? Oh, what happened to the Dwight? He was literally here. It doesn't matter. What could I have done there to win any chases? Oh yeah, just go around and stop what you're doing and break pallets. They just run to the next tile. There's nothing good about this killer. In terms of actual anti-loop and gameplay, this killer has 0. You try and summon a guard quick to block them in the middle of a TNL, the survivor just runs to the next tile. It's just literally the same shit every game.
Watashi no na wa Kirai Yoshikage, 年齢33歳。自宅は森王町北東部の別荘地帯にあり、結婚はしていない。